They were out here with this big around. Team building.
Hi, good morning, guys.
And I counted the section about like that. And I counted 200.
Help yourself to
This one, from here to back.
People are doing it regularly. All get signed up.
Yeah.
And they're about the media.
Right, and then I remember I got in front of a separate, there were people aware of it last time.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I was trying to think what the vehicle was. It seemed like it was an email from the stewards. But it didn't have kind of a focus on bird, the morning bird thing.
And maybe get started.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, I'm Cindy. I just wanted to say, I don't. Beth, I heard you.
Yes.
Beth,
Bet Merritt.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Larry.
Larry, Bet Merritt.
Yeah.
Carol. Good morning, Alice.
Hi, good morning.
You gonna be here soon, do you think?
I don't know where.
When she shows up, we'll introduce her.
Maybe.
Maybe you could put them on gallery view, and we could see everybody else.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Hi, John. Hi, Kate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Richard. Hi, Beth. Okay, so it's almost 4 minutes past. Let's get started. And welcome, guys. And today we're going to have a Armstrong Redwoods Docent meeting. So, and Mike has drafted a series of questions. So the first thing we want to let you guys meet our new volunteer coordinator, Lindsay, but she's not here yet, but she will be here later. So
Before we get started, Alice, do we want to just do a round of introductions for
Yeah.
everybody that might not know
sure,
each other?
definitely,
I think everybody does, but might as well.
yeah.
And can everybody on Zoom hear us okay?
Give us a
No.
thumbs up if you do hear
Yep.
us.
Yes.
Shaking your head now.
Okay, I think we just need to speak up though, right?
Yeah,
Yes?
Yeah.
Sheriff now.
it's
So-
pretty muffled. It's kind of garbled, but not,
Let me
Yeah.
turn that up in the bathroom, and then when folks talk, if you can direct yourself towards the mic is above the.
Yeah, Mike
Oh,
is here. Okay.
Also, I'm Mike Rora. I'm one of the docents here.
Thank you.
I'm Nina, and I'm also a docent here. I'm Carolyn, new docent. Bet Merritt, docent in training.
Cynthia Halliday, docent.
Larry Williams, docent. Could you hear Larry? Richard, did you hear Larry? Okay.
And I got skipped. I'm Justin Lindenberg, Executive Director of Students.
Glenn Blackley, a docent here.
So,
Hi, good morning.
Hey, Catherine.
come right in and introduce yourself
I'm
to the camera.
Catherine Williams.
The late Captain Williams.
No,
No,
very present. And I was too busy ordering. I lost track of time.
That happens.
A while ago, Justin and I were talking about maybe having a docent meeting and maybe a potluck and like that. Between everything else, this is what we came up with. And I was interested in that because we've had a lot of problems getting enough docents to cover all of our tours. But also have never really sat down and talked as a group about how to do a better job here. So I'm glad to see as many people as we have here. The first thing on my list, which we sent out, was are there any ideas about how we might recruit more docents? And especially we need them for working with the school groups. There are a number of people who understandably prefer just to do adults, but we also need docents for working with the kids. So any ideas? And if you're in the Zoom group, raise your hand if you have something to say, and we can call on you. That way we won't have people talking over each other. Beth and Bob, we don't have your beautiful faces on the screen, so if you can enable the video, that'd be nice. Any ideas, anybody?
Okay, I have, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, you will, yeah, I mean, I just don't know how much all the volunteers in all the different groups. I think that's probably the best way to try to encourage volunteers for the school groups is volunteers, you know, because in the whole stewards thing, there's quite a few people, if they can really all be aware to encourage volunteers for the school groups and us.
So I think you're saying we've got people doing the seabirds and the pinnipeds and the visitor centers and the trail crews.
Exactly.
Just putting the word out to them.
Putting the word out that there's dire need in this department of school groups for kids.
Because that has got a captive group of people already interested in helping, and they need to know that.
The word out when they've, you know, and I don't know about flyers or something that could be at things like the visitor centers and you know, for them to hand out or something, you know, something simple to really get the contact out. Because, you know, they're the people that are having contact with people that have an interest in doing things like this conceivably. Yeah.
Can I get somebody here to take notes?
Yep, I got that.
You got that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
Yes, Nina.
Well, my idea is kind of to go outreach to a couple of organizations that I belong to. Maybe Mike belongs to them, I don't know. There's two retired teacher organizations or associations in this county. One is called California Retired Teachers Association, and that one includes administrators and anybody that really gets a STRS retirement through the state. And they have lunches 3 or 4 times a year. And very often they have a program or somebody that speaks about whatever, you know, that might be of interest to retired teachers. So, you know, besides our tour groups that we could offer, you know, to have somebody come out as a group, and, you know, there might be a few that are looking for some kind of opportunities still to work with children. I mean, that's what, you know, I enjoy doing, you know, even though I'm a retired teacher, this is my contact with kids still. So, you know, you'd have to contact, you know, whoever's in charge of the meetings and stuff to see if you could get on their, you know, schedule to speak to them. The other group is CTA Retired. Yeah, I'll give you this later. And then there's CTA / retired, and that is the retired group that comes from California Teachers Association. And they're different, actually. And they're starting to meet again. And so I have the contacts here, you know, I mean, it would be an interesting program. I've been to several of the lunches, and it's just, both of them have newsletters, so if they didn't want you to speak, at least you could, get something in their newsletters. So those are my two ideas.
I do have contact with the California Retired Teachers Association.
Uh-huh.
So if you can look at the California CTA retired, it was. So
Yeah.
we'll follow up on that. Any other ideas?
Yeah, Linda and Kate raised a hand.
Okay, Linda?
Linda?
Kate had her hand up before me, so go ahead, Kate.
Well, yeah, I was going to suggest also reaching out to retired teachers in some way, but also to have some sort of events at the Redwoods, maybe in the evening, that are directed towards adults and perhaps seniors who would have the time and interest to do this sort of thing. I'm personally, as a former teacher, am more interested in doing the school tours. And I think that there are probably a lot of retirees like me who would be interested in that. Some of us don't have experience with the Redwoods, and getting them as hooked as we get the kids is probably the first step in recruiting new people. I mean, I see the flyers all over the place. I mean, I see them at the events and at the visitor centers, and I don't think people generally just look at those things unless they're handed them. And even then, they probably, 80% of them are going to toss them away going to an event. So what we need to do is give them experience of the Redwoods, make them fall in love with the Redwoods and want to, carry it on. So that means some programming that is directed towards adults.
So you're talking about maybe a free tour once, a couple times a year, maybe?
Well, I'm thinking as far as, the idea of reaching out to the retired teachers organizations is a really good one. And I think, offering them like a free tour a couple times a year is one thing. Even if we have something that's a paid program like Evenings at the Redwoods, that's directed more towards adults or people who are, where it wouldn't be as many kids, and people could just experience the Redwoods and then, get them hooked on the Redwoods before we get them hooked on the idea of volunteering. People aren't going to volunteer someplace that they don't love. And if we direct all of our programming just towards the educational aspect of it, and which is what we need to do during the day, I mean, we're missing out on the opportunity of fostering adults who are going to want to be involved in the programs.
Okay, thank you.
Could I add to that?
Yeah.
Both of these organizations actually have a lot of retired teachers that are not retired from this county. They actually, move here. And so, yes, you're right. There might be quite a few that, don't really even know about, the Redwoods out here in Guerneville. So that's a good suggestion, to invite them, so that they can, learn more about us.
So going to,
Loud and clear to the.
so going to like the senior centers and, other places where there might be seniors that are involved in
Okay.
different activities.
Yeah. Linda? Beth, we don't hear you. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Beth.
Linda had her hand
Oh,
raised.
I
So the
was
thing that,
sorry.
just to add on to that is that the CalNat program is at night. And those people are, I mean, that's where I came from. Maybe a lot of you guys have come from that CalNat program, and it's a nighttime program. And, where people who are working or, not working that hard come to that class. And so if we could contact them and maybe some of the alumni, I was just at the CalNat conference, there's a lot those are our peeps. Those are the people we want. And so if we could reach out, and I think you need to reach out with a urgent, this is urgent. We urgently need you to come back to Armstrong. But, we've done the CalNat program, how many years, at least 5 years. Those people are very interested in Armstrong. They're already trained. but also the whole idea that that was a nighttime program that got, you know, employed people and, you know, elder people involved with our program. So if we had some Zoom classes or nighttime classes to attract those kind of people, that's another thing. So there's two things, so.
All right. There was somebody else.
Linda.
Linda.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry I was late. I was running another meeting and I want to be there in person, but I couldn't be because it ended at 9. I was going to say the same thing about CalNat because that's how I got into this. And the other piece for myself is I'm still not coming back because I work with little kids and they're all over you. And I'm still not sure about, I've not had COVID yet. And so that's another thing that I think is lingering for some people, especially with the young ones. I work kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And you can't say, hey, stay away from me in that situation. So just some understanding about that. And if there was a meeting, I'm a retired Waldorf teacher and Waldorf teachers love to be out in nature. I mean, everybody does, but especially that. And I would put out to the 2 schools, one I helped found and another one, that we need people if we have a meeting set up for people that would be that for that purpose, to just to kind of introduce them to the park and say, hey, this is what's going on. So I have that. Actually, I've been involved in 3 of the Waldorf schools in this county, so I could put something out to all 3 of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on that topic?
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay, loud. I think those are all great ideas, and the idea of involving older folks and having events that might be more inclusive or free. But I recommend having some during the day also, because a lot of older people don't want to go out at night, particularly in the wintertime. It's hard driving and that sort of thing. Also putting out the information other places like the freebie newspaper, the Gazette. A lot of people pick that up at the grocery store or something. They have a whole section here on volunteer opportunities. And they also have a whole page of nature events. And I've never seen this group in any Gurnfield's underrepresented in a lot, not just stewards, but a lot of, we don't see things about the senior center here or food or that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
we just recently hired a volunteer coordinator, so we'll get her up to speed on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that would be good. And having more things that are more inclusive, reaching out to the senior center, having, walk around the park or an opportunity for folks to do that. That doesn't necessarily cost them an arm and a leg to get their tour.
We focused on seniors because they're available during the day. But we also have weekend events. So yeah, we should reach out to other than seniors too.
Yeah, I was thinking about who would be available during the day, and I was thinking about child development programs in our colleges here at Sonoma State as well as the junior college, where younger people who are interested in child development and interested in becoming teachers, that they might love to be able, as part of, a lot of times part of your training, part of your schoolwork is actually to get out there and be hands-on involved with young people. And so they could possibly incorporate this into their education, but be able to be available during the day as students.
And then even if they didn't actually become docents, they'd be interested in bringing their kids out here when they do have classes.
Yes.
And they can be trained to do something other than turn them over to us.
Yes, and they'd be interested in the training of how to work with the kids on a tour. Yeah.
And they could help us docents learn how to deal with the little kids too. Other ideas?
I'm curious, does stewards belong to that larger volunteer Sonoma County organization? It's
Volunteer
basically,
center.
yeah, there's a big volunteer center in Santa Rosa that other nonprofits belong to.
So we have, Alice can speak to this. I prefer she than me. Do you want to talk about the listings that we have on the different volunteer websites?
Oh, yeah, we have a variety.
Okay.
We have a variety of online platforms we are using currently. So we use the CVNL. So that's a volunteer website. Another one is called Volunteer Match. So we post all of our volunteer programs on these 2 online platforms.
Yeah, there's a number of them, and we have listings. It's just not proved to be a fruitful way to recruit a lot of folks for our docent programs, and I think part of that is just because we have so many programs that people could be interested in. But that's
Beth, and also Richard, if you can't hear us, let us know.
Okay, so I just had one thing. I know when I first started, the volunteer coordinators were also docents. And so they were able to, if like I was, one day I was there and somebody got sick. So, we were down to 2 docents, and it would be great if some of the office staff could fill in at the last minute. So if the office staff could be trained to do docenting. So at the last minute, if there's only 2 docents that show up and 65 kids, we could have another person. Before I know that Jazzy and Sarah always did tours too. So I feel like the office staff could be a backstop, especially for those last minute times, and they haven't been helping in recent years.
Richard, you're muted, Richard.
And do you want to read Linda's comment at some point, Alice? So other people,
yeah, sure.
people in the room can see that.
Yeah, so.
There you go.
Oh,
You're muted again.
Okay, you're okay, Richard?
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that you haven't mentioned yet was passing on information to interested chaperones who come with the children in the school groups. I think that's a potential for somebody who has really felt like they touched the whole Redwood situation while they were there. Just giving them a card or something so that they could be in touch with stewards and attend some, like one of Mike's introductory programs. That's pretty much the only thing I wanted to add.
That might be a good source, because if they're out here with the class, they may well be available during the day. And they're interested enough to show up, both interested in kids and being outdoors. Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
On that note, maybe when we first gather all the kids and the chaperones are there, as well as the teachers, it's a time to say, by the way, look at, we need more people to, in other words, just have that part at the beginning of the introduction.
What I do at the end of most of my tours with the older kids, say from 4th to 5th grade up, I ask them what they could do to help this place. And the kids always say, don't litter and things like that. And I try to get them to say, well, you're old enough to be thinking about what you want to be when you grow up. And they want to be professional baseball players. They want to be professional singers. So even if you're a professional baseball player making millions of dollars, how can you help? You can give money, you can learn, but you can also volunteer your time. And of course, the parents are standing around with us at that point too.
Yeah, but it'd be more direct
Yeah.
to say it at the beginning, by the way.
So make sure you talk to the parents.
Because
too.
a lot of times when I volunteer, it's like, okay, there's this, we're all kind of having bigger groups and it's ideal. And it's like, oh, by the way, if there's more people.
And we do have volunteer cards. I believe we still have those.
Yeah.
How you can volunteer.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that I like your idea of including that in an introduction. But maybe there's actually a list on a clipboard where if they want to be contacted, they put their email down.
Yeah.
And then we can give that.
Yeah, but
whoever is-
that gets more, I think the card thing is not a bad idea.
How about both?
Both.
But the idea that we would
But-
actually, as
yeah.
docents, be able to give information to folks who can then follow up with who's interested.
All right.
I would just add one more thing, if I might. I think the idea of offering educational things that the general public can sign up for that involve education around the redwood ecosystem, maybe mushrooms or spring wildflowers or something like that, either by Zoom or in person, and then bringing people in that way because they feel more comfortable. They've learned things over maybe several Zooms and they feel more comfortable about their knowledge base. And then when they go through Mike's class, they're going to feel even more comfortable. I think the last thing probably that I'd offer would be, I think people are challenged by working with small children. I know I've talked to Larry and some of the other volunteer docents, and that's the most challenging thing for them, is working with young people and how to connect with them. The whole thing about who's in charge of discipline and stuff on the hikes. There's a whole lot of things, and you've got lots of retired teachers sitting right there in the room who have knowledge about how to deal with young children. But it's probably the most challenging thing at certain times. And I know Nina, you could speak to that. You're doing a lot of hikes out there. So what would be important for making new docents more comfortable with the whole idea of that when they've not been, involved directly with their children, for instance?
Finding retired kindergarten, first, second grade teachers. They're the ones that will be interested in it. But yeah,
I think it's a matter of personality, and there's always going to be people who like to work with children and people who want to work with adults.
Guys, it's not a criticism, it's just a reality we're dealing with.
And I remember years ago that we had a specific class for docents about dealing with children and young children specifically. So there's always been training, years ago there was training in that. The other thing, when you're talking about having educational things for the public, I know that when it's in person or even online, you could, at Laguna, whenever we have an educational thing for the public, they always take people's names and whether they're interested and their email and all of that. And I don't know if we do that. And so that definitely needs to be part of any of the educational things that we provide for the public.
Okay, good.
I think we're missing an important part of this too. And that is that we can put out these flyers and say, come and join us. But if we don't have like set dates for training or, an alternate like online training, if you can't say we offer training these days, a year, quarterly or whatever it's going to be, yearly. People are going to look at that and go, okay, well, when can I join up? And if it's going to be 6 months from when they get the flyer, they're going to forget about it. So they really need to know, what the options are. I know I missed the last training because of a migraine. And I'm, my next question is, well, when do I get to join? I'm not going to forget because this is something that I really, really want to do. I don't know if everyone's, as hooked on the Redwoods as I've become just from my last 2 experiences there. But we need to have something more firm as far as dates for training is concerned.
And more frequent.
Exactly.
Maybe we should aim for an introductory docent training once a quarter, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a lot of ideas. If you have more ideas, shoot an email to me or to Lindsay, our new volunteer coordinator, or to Alice or to Justin, any of us, and we'll see if we can get going. The next thing on my list was suggestions for improvement of our programs. And by the way, we don't have to spend half an hour on each of these, but if you have any ideas, let's hear them. So ideas for improving our programs.
I would suggest ongoing training for the current docents, like a experienced docent, additional training that offers them something.
So, Richard, just quick question on this. Love it. It helps us, and especially Alice, who coordinates a lot of these events, if you can offer specific suggestions on the type or nature of training as well.
Got it.
We're very open to suggestions. We love doing ongoing training, but more specificity definitely helps.
So, okay, so one thing that comes to mind immediately is if we could be, as a docent, if we would know what's the current, the latest science, for instance, for regeneration, and how are we going to save the redwoods? What's the science on that? So that when we talk to the public, not just children, but to the general public, we can talk about, the threat that climate is posed for the redwoods that we have, and what our scientists are doing to assist their continued existence.
Perfect. Thank you.
So there's, I see you have that, but I get to talk first. So both in terms of natural history and also educationese pedagogy, how to get these ideas across. Specifically on the climate thing, there is somebody in the climate program, I forget what it's called, who's working on that. He's working on climate change in the redwoods, and we'll hopefully soon have at least a brochure on that we can all use for our own education. Sorry, Beth, go ahead. Not really.
Okay,
sorry.
well, so this has always been one of the things that I would like Stewart's to offer is education, more specific with real scientists. And if we could set up every other Wednesday night, at 6 o'clock, we have a speaker. During COVID, I have been attending those kind of talks at the Peninsula Open Space District and Pepperwood and Sonoma Ecology. They all have these kind of monthly kind of, talk to a scientist kind of thing. And I don't think it's that hard to fill those positions, especially if it's a Zoom kind of thing. But if we could bring more science and more scientists and more experts through our channels, that would be really great. And if it's at a set time, once a month, I mean, I can tell you all the talks that I've been to that are great. And most of those people will come and talk. They love to talk about their things. I mean, there's one lady out of Hopland that's the oak expert. And, there's the John Muir Laws, who does the nature journaling. He seems to always be open to helping out nonprofits. There's the mushroom guys, there's the biologist. I went to a fungus talk at, the people from the California Native Plant Society. All of those people just love to have something to talk at. And if we could do a seminar, even call it a seminar, and then we can cross-pollinate with Pepperwood and Hopland and Sonoma Ecology, that just gets more people into our fold here.
So how about this? If you have any ideas for either topics that you would like us to find presenters for, or a presenter that we'd like to hear from, shoot that information to us.
Yeah.
And as soon as possible.
Who is us? Who is us?
Well, Alice's programs, and I'm sure Justin and I'd like to hear about it too, but Alice is in charge of programs, so it's her fault.
Okay.
But also on the other hand, you need to be looking at the ones that want to teach the young children. They need playful activities to do with kids, not they need to know the science themselves, but what they need to have is modeled for them is how to bring that to a child at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, instead of the ones that are up there higher. So that's another piece that really needs help, because I think that's one reason why we have docents at the younger grades, because they don't realize you can just go out there and play with the kids all day and they'll learn so much.
Keep
One of-
reminding
one
us
of the
that.
things-
I think the older guys.
And so, like I said, we did have in the past, a docent training on working with younger kids. So that would definitely be something that we should put on the agenda.
Okay.
And maybe Linda would be willing to teach that.
I'd be willing to be there and maybe give some ideas, but I don't, now I'm overwhelmed with too many things right now to be able to teach it. Thank you.
Nina and Greg have lots of experience with the other guys. too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that my last thing is, we had a really good woman come and teach us, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago from county parks. And she was talking about inclusivity and trying to get, you know, other types of people into the parks and how we change how we think about different populations getting into the park. And she was really good. Her name was Alma. But I also think that we should have some more programming around the indigenous people that have lived at the park. And that might get more people. And I certainly need that education for my talks.
I would like to inject here, Cynthia and I give the forced immersion class, which is the basis of forced bathing and forced therapy. And if to impart that knowledge to any docent while they're going through, that they could bring some of these things out, because it's all scientifically backed up that you are healthier walking through the forest, and what it does for you in your life and how simple it is. If you can walk and breathe, you got it. And that would add, I was going to say a wholesomeness. That's not it.
A deeper dimension or
Right,
added
right. When you're
dimension.
walking through, it's not just looking at the tree. There's things going on.
That could be one of those weekly or monthly
Trick
training,
seminar,
yeah.
Yeah, and not that I'm trying to get everybody to do forced immersion and stuff. It's that if you have.
But you should.
But you need to do.
And Larry, you're doing one, isn't it next weekend? You're doing one? Is it next weekend or the following weekend?
Tomorrow.
Join us tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay, yes, I got it in my calendar, but I was looking for it. Thank
You already signed up.
Do we have any bilingual?
Go ahead.
I'd just like to add on to that. I did a couple of walks with you guys. They were excellent. And we all know just being out in the woods is good for us.
Yeah.
And in my interest, they're in health and wellness. And I noticed they keep bringing up like Sugarloaf. They have a way more robust program, but not only do they have the forest immersion, they call it forest therapy. They have beginning hiking for fitness.
Yeah.
And they have other walks on an ongoing basis that they also put out in this newsletter, you know, but I'd like to see more of that, you know, just getting people out here with whatever hook, not necessarily going to learn about the redwoods or whatever, or rah-rah, or play games with the kids, but just be here.
Well, that brings up that RX program.
Right, Park RX. I was
Yeah.
wondering
Yeah.
about that. Is that something
Are
that
we
we
going
could tap
forward with
into,
it?
or what's the funding for that? Because that sounds brilliant.
Mhm.
And as a healthcare provider, I'll sign for everybody, you know, I don't care, you know, but I know there's, you know, I guess it pays for people that want to take the class,
Yeah.
you know, so if that's available, that would be great. Put it out there, blast, get into the healthcare community. Could be.
I think that's.
Psychotherapists would want to hand this out all the time.
Yeah, and every healthcare provider
Mhm.
would do that. I
Yeah,
mean, who is not
Kaiser and
benefit from
Sutter,
being in the woods, even if they're quadriplegic, somebody.
That's right.
I'm, the way I do my docenting, and it maybe isn't the most appropriate, is when you talk about things like the forest immersion and the nature and the education, I don't get too attached to everybody, if it's young kids or whatever. being too much right there with me, because there's going to be a 6-year-old sometimes that knows a lot and is listening to everything I say, and they're going to be right with me. And some of them are, like young kids are naturally forest immersing, and so as far as, sure, it's nice to do things when we used to do that with the Braille Trail of, okay, and that was great. And sometimes doing a thing just to get them quiet, and you've got to get them quiet once in a while and just breathe and listen, which is doing that, and you have to. So, because otherwise it's naturally a chaos of birds chattering. But yeah, so that's my opinion, is to some degree, it's a natural thing with forest immersion. I do it almost 24 hours a day. Yeah.
Lindsay just walked in. Would you go over there where the camera can see you and introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lindsay Welchel. I'm with AmeriCorps. I'm new here. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be working with you guys. I love the program. I love what you guys are doing. I'm just really excited to help and be a part of it.
And Lindsay's, thank you. Lindsay's focus is volunteer recruit.
All right. Yeah.
So
Really good numbers out.
she's been tasked with recruiting more volunteers for the Armstrong Redwoods Docent program.
Yes, we got.
So we're glad to have her here to hear your.
Well,
success.
did you record the beginning of the meeting so she can get caught up?
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah.
Very good. Well, in talking about all of this, the one thing that I was thinking about is that the trails are accessible by wheelchairs, and we need to make that something that people know about. I mean, because I know a lot of older people and even people who are handicapped who might think, oh, I can't go to Armstrong because, it's not really accessible. And it is very accessible, especially on the, on the floor of the forest. And so that, I don't know how we.
Depends on the
get that.
wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Depends on the
offering
wheelchair.
something,
Yeah.
offering groups like that, because a lot of folks, as we go, we're more physically challenged, and we're not gonna be keeping up with the 8-year-olds who are,
No.
Yeah.
going up the hills, but,
But
but
it's
it's
a
gonna go
different group.
slowly. It's having focus groups for senior strolls or quad walks or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on what suggestions for programs? What I've heard mainly is more training on the science for the docents, and also for dealing with kids, especially younger kids. Other needs for program improvements.
I
Larry.
think,
I've been introducing riding my mountain bike on the pavement. And the nice thing about it is I can cover the whole park, all the picnic areas and all the nooks and crannies in about 40 minutes. And the amount of people that I interact with when I'm on the road, because you have people walking their dogs, you have some people handicapped. You also have people that just don't want to walk the path, and lost people in their cars. I don't know how to explain that one, but the interaction that I have is anywhere from 20 to 40 people in an hour that I'm interacting with that aren't addressed when docents are on the trail. I would encourage putting the word out, any mountain bikers that would like to do that and have a couple a day riding around. And it's an avenue to explore, because the amount of appreciation I get from people when I am interacting with them, because you can actually be on the road and talk about the forest. It's right there. You're not on the trail, but it's right there. And I do abbreviated forced immersion presentations or quick information about what's going on. So when they continue on their walk, they're at a little higher level, understanding what's going around them, strictly on the road.
I'm always surprised as I'm walking out after leading a group on the trails, I run into people on the road. Just and a lot of them didn't even notice that there was a trail there.
Right.
And I'll point that out to them, but a lot of them are happy just being on the road, but you're right, you can do a lot of stuff just with people on the road.
Right.
We have a couple new roving docents with dogs.
What was that?
Oh, good. The
A
dog.
couple new roving docents with dogs.
So they're on the road.
So they're
Yeah.
stuck to the pavement.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is when after I leave a group and I walk back, I often do kind of roving docent, stay maybe even another couple of hours. And I usually talk to people about what I've just done. I just had a tour group, a school group, and oh, you were lucky that you missed it. Missed it. Because now it's really quiet or something. I do talk to quite a few people just on my way out. And they're always very engaged with, what I'm doing. And I don't know where we're at with the questions, but having my vest on and a hat and all my stuff really helps to identify me. And that's one of my suggestions. And I've even talked to Nick, about ordering more vests or something that we can buy, even if we have to buy them ourselves. And the state park, I don't know who it was that I was with. Anyway, she had the state park vest. Of course, it has a big state park, label per badge on it. But yeah, but I either this one that nobody can buy anymore, or one of these really does kind of help to, identify you, with a hat or something. I think it's really important because I do get stopped an awful lot. I mean, if I'm walking on the road, people, in the cars, they want to know where they are, they're lost. Or, other people that just ask me a question, or I sit, at a spot. I really love the new tree fall area, and I'll sit there and talk about that as people come by.
Justin, last year's volunteer thing that's coming up December 3rd, you gave us hats. Is that going to happen again?
Yeah.
For anybody who wants that little uniform, Justin will give you a hat.
We have hats and we have plans for t-shirts as well.
Oh.
But I think vests would also it'd be great to have a vest branded with Stewart's insignia on it in addition to California State Parks. Beth has her hand up.
Go for it, Beth.
Yeah, so I just went on a walk with Sonoma Ecology Center, and not only do they have vests, they have jackets, and they have sun shirts, and they have, I don't know where Sonoma Ecology gets their money, but they have really nice badges too that are with their logos. And I really like the idea of the sun shirts. They were all wearing, I guess their colors are gray, but they had gray sun shirts, which were really nice too. So they had a ton of swag, and I think we could do with a little more swag that's specifically for the Redwoods.
Do they give those to the folks, or do the people buy them?
I have no idea. I didn't get into that detail, but they look pretty bare bones, just like us. It doesn't look like they have a lot of paid people there. I know they have like a science part, but they're also, so they're called Sugarloaf Ridge Team. And so there's like 5 different nonprofits that have all banded together to do the work at Sugarloaf. So they must have more money than we do. But they're also, just like us, they're running a park over there, and they have a campground.
So we're all state park volunteers. Why don't stewards have state park badges like other districts do?
I have one.
Yeah, we do. We have.
Do you? Okay, because nobody on the Whale Watch team seemed to know anything about them. I mean, I have one from Bay Area, but I didn't know. So do we wear those when we're out?
I don't know.
I don't have one.
Underground right now.
And maybe on the website, under the volunteer section, they could just say, these are the items available for
Yeah.
identifying yourself.
We give the volunteer patches out at the annual volunteer celebration cake, so December,
Okay.
December 3rd.
You have to
So we
come
do
then.
have little badges, they have our name.
I'm not talking about passes. I'm talking about our state park badges.
We get those too.
You get those?
I had one, but I don't know if I have a current one. I had one before.
So the message is we need to get the word out that
Of how
we
to.
have
obtain
badges.
that.
If you want them, let us know and you
Yeah.
can put it on your shirt or your jacket or your hat or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one
I
of
mean,
those.
that's a quick way to identify us as the volunteers there.
Does anybody need one?
No, I
All right,
don't know that now.
so,
Yeah, I don't think I.
all right, any other ideas on how to improve our programs? All right, again, for everything, I'll say it every time. You know, if you think of something later, shoot an email to whoever's appropriate. All right. Is there any education or training? Talk about that. Ideas that you'd like to share. Larry shared his forest bathing thing. Any other ideas?
And
things you
the
found that-
biking thing.
Pardon me?
I just wanted to reiterate, because we ran into a group of young ladies that came as it was a bridal, what do you call it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was before you get married.
yeah, shower.
And they all rode their bikes here, but then they left it at the entrance. They didn't realize, the roadway that they could ride on.
Okay.
But that, that as part of just kind of, yes, you can come out here as it's part of our wellness aspect, is there's the hiking, then there's also biking, that as a program, that'd probably be something you would definitely be signing up for, to leave those kind of docent tours of the forest floor, but to invite the biking community out here, because we do have a big popular,
Yeah.
Sonoma County has a big popular biking, mountain biking in particular, not the fast road.
And that doesn't work here.
No, it's more, we're gonna go slow and enjoy the park. We're gonna be riding bikes.
Any other ideas?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Again, I'm brand new docent in training. I've had the opportunity to shadow a few times, which has been a great learning experience. I'm appreciative of all the information, which has been somewhat overwhelming. But I'm looking forward to having the confidence, to be able to act as a docent. I do enjoy kids, and I've had the opportunity to be on 2 or 3 different walks with kids, and learned early on that, especially from Mike, discipline and letting them know what is expected in advance is the key. Because I was on another walk where it was, mayhem. It was fun, but it was mayhem, But I was wondering to try to get myself to the point where I have the confidence I would like to be able to be a docent and not just shadowing. In walking on the different, on the trails, I've noticed that different docents will pick up different areas to talk about, trees, whatever. And is there some sort of map? In other words, that a new docent could refer to, walk to point A, and at point A, you will see, this hazelnut tree. And here's some information about the hazelnut tree. I know that's in the material, but is there like a map? I could bring myself here with my map and, on the trail, here's point A, here's point B, here's point C. And then that would give me the confidence I would like to be able to lead a tour. And then once I have that confidence, then I can sort of fill in places between A and B that are of interest to me and I think might be of interest to other people. But some sort of map on the trails that a
Yeah.
new docent can refer to.
I have an old one.
Oh, I'll take it.
That kind of updated in 2020 to add a little bit about the Walbridge fire. too. But it's very old, and what I found is you find the spots, you decide what you want to talk about, and then you find the spots that speak to you. But this is a way of starting out. So I have a map with spots where to stop and a little thing about.
Perfect. I would be very grateful for that. And as you say,
And it's
what,
an
you know,
old map.
it, you know, well, there are some old trees here, you know, so a lot of it doesn't change.
It's a way to get to the landmarks.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
yes.
Even if we had a map, that showed the locations of the signage, because the signage is very good on the trails about these different locations. If we had a map that showed the locations of the signage, those would be great places for us to start as new docents to see those things.
Further down
You know
on
what
the
I'm-
list of topics for today, I have a self-guided walk. So
Exactly.
that's like combining, that could be a self-guided walk for the public, but it would also be useful to us as docents.
Absolutely.
And if you can get your old one,
Oh, yeah.
that could be a starting point. And what I would suggest is I'll make a draft of that, send it out to everybody for your input, and then maybe we can come up with an updated self-guided tour for the public and for us.
Yeah.
And also, you referred to materials. That's the reason I made those, what I call features cards. So if you don't know about those, they're on our website under the docent or volunteer materials. The features cards, I just went through the trails and said, here's what could be said here. Here's what could be said here about this tree, this log, whatever. So you've got the features cards now. And if we put together a self-guided tour, that could be useful for all of us.
But this was, I created this because I knew of teachers who were coming with younger kids, and they were just going without a docent.
Yeah.
So
That'd be useful for them, yeah.
that's
Good.
what I did for them.
We have a guide for teachers.
Yeah, we have a teacher's guide.
We have a handbook, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not something that we proactively send out to teachers ahead of their trip. For the Tide Pool program, before the teachers come on the trip, we send them 5 or 6 different attachments with different information that they can go through to kind of prep themselves with some of the curriculum that will be offered during the tour.
Well, when you talked about, specific areas to learn about, quite honestly, I'd be willing as a docent to walk with a new docent by, just the two of us, or, and talk about what we do, as well as, if time is a constraint, because, you have to wait for a hike with Mike, for a couple of months or something. So I'd be willing to, help new docents walk through the park and talk about what we do. The other thing is if we all do the same spots, that becomes a problem with, when we break up into 3 or 4 groups.
Right.
So we kind of have learned how to, go past a group and go to another section or something. So we don't all do the same, because there's been a few years that we've all tried to do the same, and we all kind of back up, all the way right at the beginning of the trail. So most of us that, that have been doing it for a while have learned how to kind of, go past that and go to another area. But it really is helpful when you're brand new to, learn those spots, so that, you know where you can go past a group that's kind of stuck there, because sometimes all of a sudden, like sometimes there's a deer early in the morning, there's mom, a female deer with her fawns, and it's right there at the beginning of the trail. Everybody backs up because they all want to see it. Or there's a banana slug on the trail, and everybody backs up to see the banana slug. So it's okay. I mean, it's just something that you learn to do. But when we're all trying to do, you know, the root pool, or then there's Parson Jones tree, or all of these other spots. You know, some of us have learned how to go around that. So that's a kind of a training that is really kind of one-on-one. So it is kind of hard because even if you're shadowing, you know, you don't really know how that's what we're doing, you
Yeah,
know.
you may not know why the lead docent is doing what they're doing.
Yeah, or that we go past them, or, you know, we teach the kids how to be quiet to go past.
Beth has her hand up. Go Beth.
Okay, I just want to remind people that it's not about all the facts. And, you know, this is a redwood tree and it grows this tall. It's a lot of times I talk to the teachers and they're like, oh, I just want my kids to have a good time and enjoy nature. And we have to remember that we're not, you know, we're not teachers. We're not teaching them everything. They're not going to absorb everything. And, you know, if you just, you know, if you just getting kids out and having them touch things and think about things, and that's especially with the younger kids, you know, what is this? What does it remind you of? You know, what do you think about it? You know, those kind of open-ended questions are really important for this. So it's pretty easy to wing it, and you don't have to have that many facts at your fingertips. It's not like, you know, we're out there to teach them so much stuff about the redwoods. A lot of times it's just to give them a love of the redwoods and have fun. So I hate for people to feel like they're so prescriptive that they have to get this and this and this. I remember I did one whole tour once and I'm like, oh my God, I never even mentioned the big leaf maple, you know, and I did the whole trip without mentioning that tree, you know. So, you know, it's getting that love of life, you know, that love of nature, that love of being outdoors. That's I think the #1 goal of our docent tours.
I would like to check what you were saying, that one little thing I try to do is find things to be humorous about. And I use this one example, and it actually is for adults because the kids don't get it. The icicle tree, I'll be standing there with it, say, okay, I want to tell you, and I point to the icicle hanging down. Say, this is my corning line, which is, this is Burls gone wild. And the adults snicker and the kids are going like, what's he talking about? But Burl's gone wild. It's just I'm just using that as an example that we walk by it all the time and injecting some humor. It lightens. I mean, I can see the people kind of like, oh, it's not all just, you know, all these facts coming at me. This guy's got a bad sense of humor. Right? You know, so, but there are little things out there that you can pick up and just kind of toss out. And see what works.
I think we're developing a love of nature, and we're introducing kids to loving a park, and I think that's our #1 mission, not to impose all this redwood ecology. I mean, that we have it in our back pocket, but you know.
Yeah. And if the child don't know the name of a plant, we can ask a child to name it, and at the end of the trip, they'll all remember the name of that plant.
Yeah, because the tissue paper tree.
Yeah, the tissue paper tree, or the parking lot tree, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and the thing we should be focusing on a lot in training, is, you know, as well as the facts, but we're not giving a master class, as Beth said, is thinking about ways to engage and instill wonder.
Yeah.
There you go.
And one way to do that is with your enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic about something, so you're looking for places in the forest that you are excited about, and your excitement and your enthusiasm will, you know, transfer to the kids. So that's the most important.
How many folks do any sitting time or silent reflection or journaling with the kids?
I do some silent time. We go to the Burbank Circle, and the kids either lay or sit on the bench there, and we have a quiet time.
And if nothing else, walking and just being silent, or stopping and being silent for a while, and just, yeah, I always just like that.
Yeah, the journaling is kind of to
Logistics.
We don't
It just
have a
takes
lot of
two.
time.
We don't have
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
time.
But getting them quiet is a technique.
And well,
And
and
it can be done, and it's really pretty awesome when it happens.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I kind of said it before and Beth said it, but these kids are sitting in classrooms and you gotta respect the fact that this is a field trip for them, and for them, that's like, okay, let me feel a little bit free. Don't make it so I have to be feeling too trapped just with this group. And sure, you don't want chaos, and that's why you do some silence and you do talk and stuff, but you have to respect these kids. This is their time for having a bit of freedom from sitting and out in the woods. And there's kids that tell me, this is the best thing I've had. I remember this, it was an amazing thing. There was a foster kid, because I live up the hill, or I did until my house burned. But anyway, there was a foster kid that came in from Santa Rosa. She was 8 years old or something. And she had been taken at one point in the woods. She'd never been in the country. And that kid absorbed and had information, and it was all from the first time she came as a kid to Armstrong Woods. And it just stuck. It can be a lifetime thing, but it's not a thing you can really force. And that's why for me, if I have a couple of kids by me with this huge enthusiasm, and 6-year-olds sometimes know so much. So I kind of don't get too hung up on, okay, there's some kids that are going to be in La La Land. I'm kind of in La La Land when a group is like that. So, anyway, that's my opinion.
And I think
said it too.
I absolutely agree, but I also think as well as times of silence, there has to be times of activity, and things like, having tactile activities or kinesthetic activities are going to enrich the learning. I don't know. I recommend, if anyone wants to see any of this in motion for school kids in tours, the Cabrillo Aquarium does something that they call Do It's. And their activities, they're just short, like a few second physical activities that are like acting out how a starfish eat or a sea star eats, or things like that, that gets the kids up and moving, moving their bodies. Because a lot of times walk in line and sit here in silence and contemplate, that's important, but also they don't get the opportunity to actually move during the 6 hours they're in school. And these do it's type activities, they really get the kids interested, gets them laughing, gets them moving, and gets them engaged. And they remember something if they're doing it with their body, as well as remembering it, something that they're just hearing.
Okay, thank you. That's always a good reminder for me. I'm pretty information heavy. It's always good to be reminded to address some other stuff than just information too. Okay, let's see. Materials, we need something identifying us as docents. If you think of anything else, again, let us know. Materials you'd like to share. Susanna Mayo has a chunk of burro bark that she wanted to make available. She was wondering about a place to store it. So she and I have talked about, we'll talk with Justin about maybe we can set up a little annex, a little addition to the shed that we have now by the visitor center, where we can leave stuff either for ourselves so we don't have to schlep it around, or to share with other people. So if you have things you think other people would be interested in sharing with you, let us know, let me know, and we'll see if we can work out something. I can't promise that, but we'll see.
I'd like to say that forced immersion, I was told to have people get in touch with all 5 senses. Well, rather than taking stuff here, I would grab a handful of bay leaves at home, stick them in my pocket.
Yeah.
And when the hazelnut is around, grab those leaves, because the bay leaves have them get their sense of smell. The hazelnut, when they feel that soft on both sides, they get their sense of touch. With it being so quiet, that is a sense of sound because it's so quiet. The taste can be achieved by sorrel. It tastes like rhubarb, and you can have them bite the stem.
But we've been hesitant, we've been bringing it from outside the park into, because we don't want to practice the behavior of picking what's here. But that gets a little challenging, so I don't.
Yeah.
The taste is also, there's other things you can do, but if that's.
Right, but I'm just saying that I brought that stuff from outside the park and had it on me and pulling it out, and I feel much less guilty now than trying to find all
But we
this stuff.
can't kind of leave it stored because it's living, right? You gotta get it when it's fresh.
So I say
Larry also
it's-
makes hazelnut cookies.
But you can't just pick something off of the ground at the kids, like the bay leaves.
Right.
There's always some on the trail, and that's what I do, and then we just.
And you can
all
feel
smell
the
it.
living hazelnut.
And usually with the hazelnut, there's a branch that's low enough that the kids, you don't have to pick a leaf off of it for the kids to be able to feel
But they're
it.
gonna be losing their leaves real quick.
Well,
They're
and-
feeling it, they just touch it while it's going over the
Right, no, I
trail.
mean, the hazelnut itself is gonna be losing
Yeah.
leaves, so if we can bring some
Yeah,
in.
but when it's there, you do it.
Right.
Not,
But I think
you find.
if we do that kind of thing, we should also point out to people, I brought these bay leaves in, I took them along River Road, and they're not from the park.
Right.
I explain why. So that, just the fact you brought them in to share with them, it's a learning / teaching experience.
Well, I've never felt guilty about picking up something around on the trail, though.
As long as
it's
you
already
can
on
have
the
it.
ground.
Yeah, I mean, especially,
On the trail.
upper story, redwood
Yeah, the
leaves or
leaves.
needles.
Right, the
or
fog
the-
catchers. Yeah.
Or even, something that's broken off and it's right close to the trail. I mean,
Yeah, if it's already
That's-
down, fine.
it's already down. I mean, so I just break it up and I pass it around to the kids and let them explore whatever it is that we're doing. And then I
we
tell them, to leave it, if I pick up something, I will tell them, I'm picking this up to share, but I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna, we're gonna decompose it a little faster than nature.
Glenn, was it you that told me about the time you had somebody smell a bay leaf and they had a reaction to it?
No,
Somebody, one of those who told me.
I've heard that somebody had a real strong reaction.
Yeah, they had a reaction to both bay and also.
Richard did. Richard's one of Richard's.
Yeah, our house
students
too.
Well, oxalis, I've got relatives that have died from oxalis, from rhubarb leaf. So you have to be very careful eating oxalis. You have to really make sure if they're tasting the stem of the oxalis to say this stuff will be poisonous.
Right, that's not. That's
It's a say,
Yeah.
it can be poisonous.
We'd have a lot of dead kids if that's the case.
One at a time,
We
please.
ate it all the time as kids. We ate it all the time, the yellow ones, all the time as kids. No one I ever knew of ever died, but I can understand to be careful though. Yeah.
There can be too much of it, and my grandmother and that died, so I know.
Something in it.
From rhubarb leaf, which is oxalic acid.
Yeah, the sorrel and oxalis.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
How much?
Okay, next thing, date round. We know what the date round is. We know that it's pretty shot. It was apparently cut in 1978, but the sapwood is all decomposed and is gone, so it's about 1906 is where it's at now. I've been working on trying to get a replacement, but as you understand, it's kind of hard to come up with a 5-foot diameter piece of old growth these days.
I
I
maybe
volunteered.
got some at my place, but it wouldn't be, it has some, it might be hard to bring down.
So if we can get a new one, we will. If not, maybe we can shave off an inch or two and get past the rotted and place where people carve their initials in and replace, we can at least replace the signs. And so if you have suggestions on things that we might put there that aren't quite so Eurocentric, but we also want to include the Eurocentric stuff because that's an important part of the history and dates that people recognize. But it's going to need to be between the year 948, or if we get a new one, that'll be different. And whenever the thing is out there. So we can't really put stuff about the 1950s and 60s on this one. But we can put, if we can find space, we can put some other things. So if you have suggestions for dates, events that we should include whenever we get a new one or rebuild this one, send them to me ASAP. I thought I had one lined up, but it fell through. The lumber company cut it up. Jerks. Anyway, Docent handbook. We have a Docent handbook. We also have an Armstrong Redwood teacher handbook, which needs revising. They've revised the volunteer handbook that applies to everybody. If you haven't looked at that, you should read it through. But we're going to revise all the handbooks eventually. And so I want to get going on the Redwood one. I would sure like it if somebody would, if people would volunteer to help out either with the actual revision, we could divide it up. That would be great. Or at least if you'd be willing to read whatever we come up with and offer your suggestions afterwards. So Justin and Alice, I still don't have one in Word that I can revise.
Yeah,
So
I can convert
if you can
that.
get it to me, that'd be great. If you'd like to help, just let me know soon if you'd like to help out with the revision. It doesn't have to be so soon if you'd like to help out with the editing.
Mike, I'm a good editor if you want some help.
Yeah, we've got a number of people we have to edit. That'd be great. So
Yeah.
the revision and the editing or both. Great. Okay. Let me know. I remind you. Let's see. Da. Okay. Talked about self-guided. For Bullfrog Campground, a couple of us have talked briefly about this. When Bullfrog opens, Justin, maybe you can address this. Would it be, could we offer to whoever's camped up there, you know, like a nature talk program or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any idea when that might happen, when they might be open?
No.
Next summer?
Hopefully.
Okay, so that's just something to file in the back of your mind if you'd be interested in doing something with Bullfrog Campground when we have Bullfrog campers.
Yeah, we're hoping to get a state park interpreter as well.
I've heard that before.
That would be great.
Okay, a couple of items that we just got on the agenda a few days ago. Should we, or can we, or whatever, accept tips? I know that sometimes when I do an adult group, at the end, they'll offer me a tip. And according to the state park volunteer handbook, we're not supposed to accept tips. Okay, and I suspect the reason for that is, maybe there's another reason, but the one that comes to my mind is I can envision kind of hinted that they would like a tip. And that's not a good look.
Well,
But-
if they want to offer you a tip, you can say, we would love for you to donate to the park or to stewards, right?
There's
I
a
mean,
box
but-
over there.
Yeah, so that's, I'm just throwing that out, but we're not supposed to
There's a
accept.
tip box by the visitor center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donation.
Yeah. So
There's
that's
a donation box.
Yeah,
So,
just a reminder. Anything else on that?
Well, now we charge a fee, so
Yeah.
for some of the things that we're doing, that's kind of new this year.
We already talked about badges, uniforms, type things, and Justin, you mentioned t-shirts, so I didn't know that was in the works. This is a shirt that we have, or at least we have had some of in the retail
store?
stuff. It's from an old, was
This
it
is the back.
2017
That's the
Old Grove
festival.
Festival? This is what I usually wear. It's got the Stewart's logo and the stuff on the back is underneath my vest. But I suspect we may still have some of those in there that people could buy. But what's the deal on the t-shirts?
So we're setting up basically an online store where there will be logos and volunteer identification with state parks name, Stewart's name, that people can order the size and color and whatnot that they want. So it's through an e-commerce platform that will be able to offer t-shirts for all the docent programs. We have the preliminary designs of them already done.
Cool.
So it's something that we're planning on announcing at the
Will there be any
volunteer
cost?
celebration. And they'll be available to purchase through that site. And it means that we don't have to stock the inventory here, which is part of the issue, and purchasing and putting that cash outlay. So it's you purchase it and then they print it like the same day and ship it. And then we're also looking at sort of an incentive structure for when you meet certain hour milestones. You get a hooded sweatshirt or
Fun, so you can earn your.
Yeah, so that the only
Yeah,
incentive
your
for
swag.
volunteering isn't the 200 hours and you get a state park pass that's good for all the parks to get some swag and stuff.
This is a-
Justin, can you make sure you have some long sleeve shirts because it's cold in the forest?
This is a shirt that Michelle gave me a long time ago. It has the Stewart's, it's a polo shirt. I don't usually wear this when I'm doing tours, but if I go to some event, I want to be a little bit more formal. I'll have this, so.
I like that
that's
has your name
something
on
I'm
it
gonna
too.
do.
Embroidery.
And then, so they have the Stewart's logo. I just took a place and put my own name on it, so I didn't even have to wear a name badge.
Yeah. Do folks have a preference? So, it's a California State Parks program that kind of administered by Stewart's for logo and insignia. Do you have preference for Stewart's or State Park?
Stewart.
Okay.
Stewards.
I mean, I'm.
Stewards.
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 Who we are.
And it includes Coast and Redwoods on that, yeah.
Okay. Two other things on my list here. Just, throw it out. What have you found enjoyable in your work with stewards or in the park? I just enjoy, first of all, I enjoy learning myself. I enjoy that, but also when somebody asks a really good question and that gives me feedback that they're engaged and they're interested. And I enjoy, that's what I enjoy, is when somebody's interested enough to ask questions. But throw it out. What do you guys find enjoyable?
I love the enthusiasm of the kid or the adult when you're taking them through,
It's joyful.
Yeah. And the questions, I feel the same. It's just, sometimes it's like, wow, this question is just, I have to check this out. It's a great question. And it could be a young kid. Yeah.
I like that working with multiple docents when I was in training, shadowing. You guys were mentioning that you've been with different people. I highly encourage that because I would glean some information from this person, then this person, kind of put it together for my presentation, which is different from what they were, not different, but yeah, it was presented differently. And I think that's something that's should be encouraged, and I think it is, to shadow. And that was worth it right there. I also said about injecting humor and my sick humor and stuff. You helped me out on one that I really had a problem with. There by Armstrong, there's about 2 or 3 trees that are leaning. And I had an adult group of pharmaceutical engineers, 20 of them. And we got in that, this one guy was on my shoulder and he kept on saying, well, why is that tree leaning? I said, I don't know. I don't know. And so about 3 or 4 minutes later, he said, why is that tree leaning? And I said, I don't know. And finally, the third time, he says, well, why is that tree leaning? And I said, look, I don't get paid enough to take this abuse. And the rest of them all busted up and this guy backed off. But you told me how I should have answered that was that, oh, they're leaning and whispering and they're talking about you.
Somebody else, I don't think I-
Yes,
now.
yeah. But it's the humor part that, you know, little things like that can
So
connect.
with
you.
adults, I usually start off with, I love the answer, that you'll ask questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. That opens it up. Yeah.
Well, you asked what we get out of this, and back when I was a docent and still working, you know, I took the morning off and I'd do a kids tour, and I would come back into the office and I would just be so jacked up. I'd be so high. Have all this energy, and I feel like I'm a vampire, and I suck the energy, the youthful spirit and energy off of these kids, and it makes me feel young, and it makes me happy. I don't know how many of you guys have that experience, but I walk out of the park thinking I just did something great today, and that's why I come back and do these walks. I mean, even the worst day in the forest is a great day. You know?
Anybody?
Yeah, sharing is probably the best reward. Just sharing your love of the park and you know, letting and having that common experience with each other.
For me also, if I'm doing a tour, I get to be here.
Yeah.
I get to go through the forest, and otherwise maybe I wouldn't be here. So, you know, I love this forest and I love being here. So that's another, you know, plus to doing tours.
We're all pretty much on the same page on all those things. Well, I should have reversed the order. Last thing on my list here is what's not enjoyable. I suspect we've covered most of that, but is there any issues that we haven't brought up yet that we should at least be aware of, even if we can't fix them?
Accidents.
Go ahead.
Accidents. I mean, you know, and that's part of, I think, just having enough, you know, well, and minimizing chaos. And also, I make a point always of saying nobody ever goes in front of me. I am the front, and that is just, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, and for me, there was just really actually just one accident. Luckily, it wasn't serious, but it was a kid falling off the stage at Fars Theater, which is not okay. But, you know, so yeah, that's the worst. Yeah.
I think one of the times that we had the Discover, no, it's called the Armstrong Trail now, when we had that closed and we didn't know that it was closed. So if anything like that happens where they're, you know, doing trail work or something, you know, to let us know so that we can adjust our schedule. It hasn't happened for quite a while, but those were some trying times, you know, when we had to readjust, you know, at the last minute when we didn't know. So if something like that should happen, you know, to let the docents know right away. And Alice has been wonderful with all these emails and reminding me of where I'm just the groups that I'm supposed to be with. So thank you.
Anything else that we haven't addressed? Even mentioned the fire stuff. That might be something that we could offer the community. I'm thinking the Guerneville community might be interested in. If Brendan could lead a post-fire Armstrong tour and show.
So he did that once, and he has a number of new staff. One of his staff members is named Ryan Clouch. He's also from Wisconsin, and he's a fire expert. And he's doing all the fire treatments and prescriptions for the district. He's led exactly that walk with for the climate steward course just a couple weeks ago.
Well, I know Brendan did one for us docents.
Yeah.
But I think for the community.
Yeah, that would be great. Ryan would be happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah, turnout looked good. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah.
And, oh, I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Water.
Before we close,
Water the baby redwoods. We're supposed to get some rain next week, but there's 3 of them hanging in there. Something close by the water. If you're coming from the Armstrong Trail,
yeah,
you cross the road when you're almost to the memorial thing.
yeah,
Okay, the trail comes like this, and it kind of bends around, and then it goes like this over the memorial. Okay,
okay,
as it's coming across like this, there's I off the steps, but there's one of the little X's that holds up the fence posts,
okay.
has an X on it.
Oh,
And then
okay.
near the base of that.
But it's
there's
just
3 little ones.
before the memorial. as you're
Before the
going toward
memorial.
Okay.
First turn, the left-hand curve before you get to the right-hand curve.
If you've got time, I'll walk you
They're
over there.
surviving redwoods.
Cynthia, if you've got time, I'll
Dino
walk you.
will give a baby redwood tour.
Okay.
And when I do with kids, most kids should have the water bottle with them. I say, I want you to thank those trees and say, I hope you make it.
Because these are true seedlings. These are not the clones. These are the seedlings.
They're babies.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for being here to offer just really terrific and invaluable feedback and perspective and insight. And also just a real special thanks to Mike and Alice for hosting and facilitating. Thank you so much.
This is kind of miscellaneous. I don't know how it fits in, but Larry and I love to go through all of the, Sonoma Coast Park, right? So we're over at Willow Creek and Homo, and there's that Hunter's Run and up, what is it, Clouds, the Sky Trail, Islands in the Sky. But I'm wondering about, that is an incredible forest walk that walks down through at the very end of the Willow Creek area. How does that work as far as if we wanted to try something out there, not only on the main, Armstrong floor, but where it's a little bit different of an experience for
Or just
but you're
Pomo.
still getting
Or just Pomo, it's so different.
right,
Yeah.
right. So is that something that we would just, if we wanted to try to do some sort of walks out there, Alice, that we would just propose that for that location, or is there agreements that have to be made with the state park and stuff?
Yeah, that's just it's a conversation with Alice, and there's also another couple that did the California Naturalist Parks that put together a Mysteries of Willow Creek thing that we haven't done yet. But to have like you two and those two that other couple do that would
That
be.
are kind of that area.
I would 100% come to that.
Yeah, there's one.
I haven't explored Willow Creek.
There's wildlife.
Wonderful out there.
There's wildlife out there, and there's virtually no wildlife. There is none here.
Yeah.
Hardly anything.
Well,
You have to go further up there.
it's a different kind of environment.
Right. Very cool.
So that would just be working with you, Alice, to connect with the Mysteries of Willow Creek.
Yeah,
Is that-
I can send you there. Okay, thank you so much for everybody on the computer.
Alice brought us some
Thanks for
great
joining by
treats,
Zoom.
and so we get to eat them.
Yeah, and I got back a couple days ago from Japan and Vietnam, which is where.
From delicious.
You need to send us some virtually. Come on, send us some treats. Come on, do it. Okay, I got some. Bye-bye. I'll go get my own.
Bye, Linda. Bye, Mom.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, wow.
I'm probably gonna give up on my new bag and get a bigger basket.
Well, fishing, that's a great idea.